All right. Hello. I am Cindy Rubin, owner and founder of In Touch Pediatrics and Lactation, a small home visit practice outside of Chicago, providing general pediatrics and lactation services. And this is Keeping in Touch, which is a weekly series to talk about all things in the perinatal space. And this week, I have with me Dr. Alugo, who is a child and adolescent psychiatrist in Canada, in New Brunswick. And she is joining me today to talk about that transition to having a new baby, and especially when you have a toddler or other kids who are going to be affected emotionally. It can be a really tough transition for everyone in the house when you bring in a newborn. So welcome, Dr. Alugo.
Thank you very much for having me. It's great to be here.
Great. Can you start by just telling us a little bit about what you do and about your practice and how you got to where you are?
Okay, so I'm a child and adolescent psychiatrist, and I empower youth mental health in a number of ways. One is by providing education to parents, teachers, and caregivers. I also improve emotional health awareness by providing information to the youth themselves. And then there's my clinical role as a psychiatrist. So I went to medical school in Nigeria, did my residency in Ireland, and have been working and practicing in Canada for more than 8 years now.
Wow. So you've really been in lots of different countries and continents and different medical experiences and different systems, which must be somewhat fascinating.
Oh, well, yes, it has its ups and downs.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure. Well, I was looking a little bit at your website and other things that you do, and I'd love to hear more about the Emotional Ambassadors Program and what that is.
So it's a self-paced 8-lesson program really designed for 9 to 12-year-olds to raise emotional health awareness. So it covers topics like understanding healthy emotions, ingredients for healthy emotions, because things like the 5 pillars of health: good sleep, exercise, your diet, good friendships, communication with family, all those things, emphasizing how those things affect our emotions. Also,
Mhm.
things like handling anxiety, why we sometimes may feel worried, why we may feel afraid, identifying a trusted adult, identifying unsafe situations, and learning to talk to people about those challenging situations, realizing that sometimes you may have difficulties with how you learn, but that doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you. You can seek for help, and we all learn in different ways. So it just tackles a wide variety of topics, and it really provides a launching pad for having those awkward conversations that most parents don't know where to start from.
Yeah.
But it's designed to be done with a child and a parent, so that you can have opportunities for conversation. It can be done through school or, with a parent at home.
Wow, it sounds great. I have a 9 and 11-year-old, so it's made for us. I'll have to check it out. It sounds great. Well, today we're going to be talking about kind of the younger age child. And I would love to hear your take on that changing dynamic when a baby comes into the home and those older siblings need to figure out their place in the home and deal with a lot of emotions. Not only do they have this wonderful new human being, but this wonderful new human being is taking a lot of mom and dad's attention away from them, especially if they were an older only child. And I saw this happen myself in my family, and it's really difficult to navigate. And I think parents really can use help ahead of time to think it through and be prepared for what's going to happen when that new baby comes, to make sure that we protect the mental health and well-being of our other children.
Indeed, I mean, having a new baby really changes everybody's lives. So you have
Mm-hmm.
this new individual who's crying a lot, who's very demanding of the time, who's taking up space. All the
Mm-hmm.
paraphernalia of having a baby, suddenly maybe toys are getting moved aside to create room for the crib and all playpen
Right.
and all of that. So there are many changes that happen, for the older sibling when a new baby arrives at home, and it can evoke a lot of emotions from anxiety to curiosity to
Mm-hmm.
jealousy to anger and fear, just so many different emotions. Of course, excitement as well. And these emotions can be all present at the same time and be very confusing for this older sibling. So it's definitely something to think about well ahead of time and to prepare for.
Yeah. Well, can we go through kind of the different age groups and tips that you might give parents for how to prepare that older sibling and kind of address those mental health issues once the baby comes, kind of in a preventive way, but also how to react when our children do potentially act out or we can tell that there's something going on with them. So let's start with those young ones, like the toddler age, 2, 3, 4 year olds.
Right. I mean, for all age groups, maybe I'll start with that. You want to prepare. So even before the
Yeah.
baby arrives, at an age appropriate time, depending on the age of the child, you want to share the news that
Mm-hmm.
there's a baby coming and be excited, but also be realistic. So kind of say
Mm-hmm.
we're gonna have a new baby, be very happy about it, and then begin to prepare them with information of what a baby could be like. They could cry a lot initially, but you're going to do your best to keep them happy and quiet. And you just also prepare them, let them know the process. Are you going to go to the hospital? How long will you be gone for? Who's going to care for them when you're gone? At what point are they going to get to see this new baby? And
Yeah.
when is this baby going to come home? Obviously, we can't really predict all of these processes ourselves, but provide as much information as you can about the process
Okay.
and based on what age this child, that this older sibling is. Again, preparation, depending on the age, when you're picking out stuff for the new baby, you want to involve them. So you're picking out stuff for the nursery, you're buying baby clothes, bring them along and say, oh, can we buy this for the baby? Or get them to choose stuff for the baby, choose a toy for the baby. If you could involve them in choosing a name, just,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
involve them as much as you can
Yeah.
before the baby actually arrives. So they feel like they're part of this process.
Yeah.
And then when the time now comes, plan ahead again for the arrival of the baby. So who's going to be caring for the older sibling when you're in hospital? And then when you do arrive home, for the first couple of days, things are pretty rocky and everything is moving very fast.
Yeah.
You want to try and have as much support in place as possible. One, to help you with this transition home with the new baby, but to also help you with the sibling, but to also give you a chance to have time for the sibling and to carry them along as much as possible. So preparation is key.
Yeah.
So for the toddlers, the 2, 3, 4 year olds, it's trying to make sure that you're creating some me time for them, even in this whole chaotic situation of having a new baby. And
Yeah.
this can be with either parent. So does that mean a little bit of extra time reading a story, some more playtime, time to go for a drive with dad or with the grandparents, just something that makes them feel extra special at those
Yeah.
times. And then you may notice that they begin to really demand your attention. So do what you can to give them, focus attention on them for a period of time that is just them and you. You may find that they begin to regress. So
Mm.
suddenly they want to do the things that the baby is doing. They want to go back to using a bottle or they want to
Mm-hmm.
carry them all the time. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
you may have to allow that to happen for brief periods, but not for so long because then it becomes an entrenched behavior. But
Mm.
brief periods of I'm going to cuddle you, but no, you're a big boy now, big girl now, and then you're in that space. Another thing that you may do is to give them jobs. I mean, for the 2, 3 year olds, they're really young. but
Mm-hmm.
involving them, you're feeding the baby, have them close by, so they're able to cuddle with you as well or with your partner. As much attention as you can, involving them in the process as much as you can. And for the older age groups, we're talking maybe 5, 6, 7, you want to make them feel special. So again,
Mm-hmm.
all the same things you're doing for the younger kids, some me time, some time with you, but maybe give them chores to do so they feel like they're part of this parenting process. Like, oh, you go get me the diaper, get this, get that. So they feel like they're running little errands for looking
Yep.
after the baby. So they feel like they're part of the process
Mm-hmm.
and almost like a mini parent. And so
Yeah.
you can give them age appropriate chores. And then, just talk to them about the baby's crying all the time, that this is going to get better. So they understand that you're doing what you can to manage this situation whilst being aware of their own needs. And
Gotcha.
then going on to the older age group, so we're talking maybe like 9, 10, 11, they're older. They may not be tantruming like the younger ones. They may not be as clingy, but they still have their own emotions that they may be bottling up. And so again, you want to make time for just you and them to have a conversation. So do something like go for a drive or cook a meal, remember the school activities. So that will be your time to get them to talk about how they're feeling about having this new sibling at home.
Yeah.
Get them to be part of running errands for you, doing some chores around, but giving them a break from this constant caring for a new sibling. So maybe if they could go off with cousins or family friends or grandparents to give them a break, but not for too long when they feel like you're trying to, you know, put them out of the picture, but just finding the right balance.
Yeah. Which is not easy. I think these are excellent ideas. I think that for me, I would kind of like having a business. I get to the end of the day and realize, oh gosh, I didn't do that. I was going to do that and I ran out of time. So, really scheduling that time with the siblings
Hmm.
somehow to be kept accountable for that as well, because it's easy to get sidetracked by that newborn.
Very much so. Very much so. For a new mom, you're tired, you're sleep deprived. So you might really need to bring in help. So get your spouse to help as much as possible, family members, anybody who's able to help you,
Yeah.
to either
Yeah.
take your older kid out, do stuff with them, or to even take the baby so you have a bit of time with your older kid, or
Right.
so that you're not burning your candle at both ends.
Yeah, yeah. What if you have an older child who is not a great sleeper and now you have this newborn? Do you have any tips for that specific sort of situation? It's tricky.
All right, that's a tricky one.
Yeah.
So I mean, it depends. I mean, so why is this older child not a great sleeper? Is it something that has been going on before this baby was born, or did it happen around the time of the newborn arriving? So if it's a new problem because of the change in the family dynamics, you want to just try and stick to a routine, ensure that your usual bedtime routine continues, whatever you do at bedtime to calm them down, the bath time, story time, blah, blah. Try and keep to that routine because eventually, if this is just a response to the baby's arrival, you expect that that should eventually fix itself.
Right.
If it's a long-standing problem that has been there before the baby's arrival, again, you want to try and get a routine in place.
Yeah.
You want to try and get a bedtime routine in place, and it's never too late to start.
Yeah.
Because yes, with the baby, you're going to be all over the place, but whatever you can do to try and get this older kid into a routine will be helpful. So
Yeah.
trying to put them in their own bed at a particular time, night light, washroom use, all of those kind of strategies as much as possible.
Yeah. And I'd imagine, and I'm just thinking off the cuff here, but that giving your baby a bedtime, the new baby, probably is helpful too. I think we don't do that all the time with the baby because they're just on this every 3-hour schedule,
Yeah,
but you can still have a bedtime so that the older sibling sees that, well, first of all, that they get to maybe have a later bedtime.
yes,
And to just see that we all have bedtimes and it's not like this baby is suddenly getting to stay up and our attention is going to the baby when you go to bed, but we're all going to sleep. And might
I think
help.
that's a great idea, and I think that's a great strategy. Everybody have a bedtime.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I remember the first time I tried that, I was like, let's just say that, 8 o'clock tonight is bedtime in our minds when we put the baby down. And they slept like 8 hours. They had been sleeping, getting up every 3 hours. There was something different about how we did it
Yeah.
that made that sink in for the newborn. I think this
Mhm.
was with my first child.
Yeah.
So it's strange how that works and how there's so much about the environment and the thought process of all the people involved that can help sleep be
That's true.
facilitated. Yeah.
Mhm.
So I'm curious, is there anything specific about teenagers that would be different about how you go about this?
Well, that's an interesting one. I mean, for example, if they've had a few other siblings before this newborn, they've kind of had some practice, obviously at different age points. But we have families that have a really big gap where you've
Yeah.
had a teenager that's been an only child for very long, and this baby arrives. And it can bring a lot of emotions. There can be excitement. There can be, oh my goodness, I have a new baby. They feel like a mini parent themselves,
Mhm.
or it could be resentment and anger. It could be anxiety as to what this means for them. And because they're that much older, they're not able to really express how they feel because they think it's not cool. People won't understand. They may feel judged. So again, you want to prepare them as much as possible, but then you want to leave room for a lot of conversation to happen after the baby arrives. So you want to still remember to maintain your structured routine, me time, because for you to even get into of a regular teenager, it takes time and
Yeah.
intentionality. So now you have to be extra intentional to have some time for them on their own without the baby, while somebody else is caring for the baby. Well, and do stuff that doesn't have to do with the baby. So, like if they're involved in sports, I used to be able to drive them to their sporting activity once in a week or ever so often, just so it's their time and they don't feel as if this new baby has just come to upturn their world. So you
Yeah.
have to just really be intentional about making sure that you still have time for them.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. I'm not looking forward to those years. I mean, I am in so many ways, but I worry about, just it's a challenging time to be a person as a teenager and to parent a teenager, I know.
Mhm.
And one tip, this has nothing really to do with the newborn situation, but when there are topics that come up that you want to talk to your child about, or you're just trying to open up just time for your kid to just talk to you, because sometimes relationships can get very strained. And like you said, kids just want, to do their own thing at that point. But setting up situations where you don't have to be face to face can be really helpful. I thought that was just brilliant. I didn't, it totally makes sense. But, so driving in the car, so you're looking forward, you're not looking at your kiddo, doing a puzzle or some sort of artwork where you're involved in something else and you're both focused on that. Since the focus is off of the conversation, it might make the
Mm.
conversation a little more natural and facilitate that a little bit. So I just wanted to throw that in there because I think it's a really, really interesting idea. And I think it really works. And I use it with my younger kids too.
Yeah, people say that side by side conversations,
Mhm.
things really come out more naturally. Or if you're doing chores together, if you're driving them and their friends to
Oh,
activities,
yeah.
you kind of discover a lot about your teen in all the backseat conversations that happen.
Yeah, be the driver. Be the driver, because then you'll learn all of that. Yeah. Wow. So, this is also a challenging time for the parents, and the parents are dealing with this newborn and their attention is being taken away. But I think sometimes they miss their other kids because they just by default cannot spend as much time. And I think that can be really tough. And I know, it's making time for them. It's the same things you've already said is the answer, but I'm just be interested to see what you have to say about that transition and what can help the parents too.
I think being kind to ourselves, because
Yeah.
sometimes as parents we want to be like superpowers, we want to do it all, you want to care for this newborn perfectly, you want to care for the older siblings, you want to care for your partner, care for
Yeah.
everything, everybody. So
Yeah.
it's important to just realize, okay, this is a really difficult time, this is a transition process, and I'm doing what I can.
Yeah.
And not get overwhelmed or totally bogged down by what you're not doing. And like I always say, all a kid needs is a good enough mother. You don't need a perfect mother. Just be good enough. And just do what you can when you can.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
I think it's so hard. I'm a type A personality and I feel like I need to do everything perfectly and
Yeah.
it's
We're all like
impossible,
that. Yeah.
right? Yeah, yeah. But it's impossible. And yeah, there are days that I'm just happy that everybody is still alive
Yes.
and under the same roof. And
Mhm.
yes, that's great. Well, this has been great. I mean, I just think that the more people can hear about this topic and just realize, I think we get so focused on the baby and we forget about all of the other things that are going to be happening around us, like our own healing and the siblings, and all of the dynamics are going to change. You can't imagine how it's going to feel until you're actually going through it, but it's really good to just have that idea in the back of your head. It is going to change, and so that you're not surprised when it happens and you have some of these tools to use.
Of course. And I mean, it's important that if you've waited like a few months, things are not settling down, or you notice that these unhealthy emotions are not getting any better, they're persistent, then you want to reach out for help. Talk to
Yes,
your pediatrician, family physician. There may be some other stuff that your child may need. So it's important not to just keep struggling along for months on end if things are not
okay,
working well.
great, great point. Yeah, great. Well, thank you for all of this information. I have two fun questions now.
Okay.
So, one question is, what is your favorite thing about the area that you live in? What do you like most to do, or food, or something? What is your favorite thing in that area?
It's very safe, very slow paced. So
Nice.
and people are very, very friendly. So
Yeah.
I like the quiet, peaceful environment. People are friendly. You can go on walks. It's safe, and that's why I love it.
Oh, nice.
Mhm.
Sounds really nice. And then, secondly, what would you tell your 20-year-old self if you had a chance to go back and talk to her?
Enjoy every minute of your 20s.
Yep.
Enjoy it. Don't overthink everything. Just have fun. Enjoy it. You can't get those times back again.
Right, right. You just get more and more responsibilities as you get older and
Yeah.
have a lot less freedom, even though you've been looking forward to this supposed freedom your whole life. I know once my daughter said that she wanted to be a teacher, and I said, "Why?" And she said, "So that I can make all the rules." It's like, "Oh,
Okay.
I get that. Yeah, yeah." Well, if we do have some parents watching in your area, in that New Brunswick area, or people who are looking for the course that you have online, how can our viewers find you?
So my website is www.stjohncap.com. I'm also on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and you can watch my YouTube channels. I have a podcast called Walking on Eggshells with Dr. Tolu, where I just discuss a lot of parenting issues around mental health. So you can
Mhm.
find me on any of those places. And
Great.
if you're in the New Brunswick area, your family physician knows where to find me.
Okay, great. And I will put all of those links in. This will live on YouTube after it is broadcast. So all of those links will be there. So thank you again, Dr. Alugo. This has been a great conversation, and I know you've given some very, very valuable tips to our viewers.
Thank you for having me. It's been fun chatting with you.
Absolutely. And to everyone else, thank you for watching, and we will see you next week on Keeping in Touch.